Okay. All right, so I have a couple of announcements to make. The first one is our in-person class for this semester. And like I've said before, this is a hybrid class, so we are expected to at least have one in-person class. And so the in-person class has been scheduled for Tuesday, April 19th, and it's actually a day when I had scheduled class presentations for your final project presentations, but in retrospect, I think I had an extra day slotted out in case, we needed that extra time for the final projects, but I do have 2 other classes scheduled for the presentation, so I think we should be fine for the final project presentation. So I've converted Tuesday, April 19th to an in-person class, but we are not going to be having a regular class. The 2 applied linguistics seniors who are graduating this semester will be giving their final project presentations in the class. Caitlin Hemberger, who is writing her senior honors thesis in linguistics this semester, and Raul Rangel, who is doing his final capstone project in linguistics. So I thought it will be good to kind of, see the broad range of topics you can work in linguistics and kind of get an insight into, the applied linguistics major, and hear from the seniors about, their project and their future plans. So that's the kind of plan that I have for that class. The classroom is going to be decided. We already have a classroom assigned for this class, but I just want to, I want to make sure that we have enough space for social distancing in case there are other people who are going to be joining us for this meeting, because I might be making this presentation open to anybody else in linguistics if they want to come in, not just the class. So I might choose a different room just for the purposes of social distancing. And in that case, I will let you know what the classroom chosen is. Okay, so please mark your calendars for this, because you will be required to come in person on April 19th. We're not going to be meeting via Zoom. Okay. The second assignment is your assignment 4, which you already have taken a look at. You've been taking notes while you watch the Linguist documentary. This is due on Tuesday, March 22nd. And I know your midterm is also due on that day. So if you want to do your assignment 4 and submit it before spring break or during spring break, feel free to do that, right? I mean, my suggestion would be not to wait until Tuesday, March 22nd to do it, especially if you have midterms that week. By all means, you can, complete it and submit it this Sunday or something like that, okay? There's something in the chat which I'm trying to access, but okay, that's fine, Nayel. So that's assignment 4. Whenever it's ready, just submit it so that you don't have to worry about doing that post spring break. Your midterm, you might have already seen your the midterm review up on Blackboard. I'd made an announcement of that, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about the format and the requirements of the test. I know in the past I've said that if you want to take the test in person, I'm happy to come on Tuesday for you to take the test. I haven't heard from any of you saying that you would prefer to take this test in person as opposed to an online test. So, if anybody has a strong preference to take this test in person, it will still be open book. But if you want to do it in person, in class, I'm happy to come on Tuesday, March 22nd at 9:30 to our assigned classroom to administer the test. But please let me know through email if that's your preference. But if not, I'm just going to assume that your preference is to take this test online. And okay, again, sorry, there is another chat, but I just want to make sure. Nayel, that's
I'm so sorry, I've got questions.
Yes, but I would prefer that you keep this to the end because this is being recorded, so your message will show up in the video. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah, so this is being recorded, right? So I would advise you to keep your questions until the end, and we can talk about that at the end of the class. Oh, actually, not today, because I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, which I was going to mention. But send me an email and we can talk about that, Nael. All right?
Okay, yeah, I've got an email coming out to everybody soon.
Okay, sounds good. So the timed test is going to open up on Monday, March 21st after 9 a.m. So it's going to open up on your, Blackboard. You will get an announcement when I upload the test and the test is ready for you. I'm going to keep it open all of Monday and all of Tuesday so that you have adequate time to take it. But ideally, I have kept our class time on Tuesday, March 22nd for you to take the test. Okay. We're not meeting synchronously on March 22nd. Because I want you to take the test during that time frame. But say you want to prepare more or you don't feel comfortable taking the test on Tuesday morning, you can take the test all the way until midnight on Tuesday. I wanted to give you that flexibility just because, like I said, I don't want this to be a cause of stress or, anything like that. It's an open book. If you have attended my lectures, you've done your reading, you should be able to ace your midterm. It's pretty straightforward. The only thing is that once you start the test, you have to do it in one sitting and in 2 hours. Now, I will answer Nael's question here briefly. If you have an exception with me, if you have an accommodation put in requesting more time for your test, the timer will just go off at 2 hours, but people who have accommodations will just continue and take the time that you've been allotted, and you will not be penalized for that. Does that make sense, Nael?
Yes.
Okay, so the timer is just going to be a generic timer. It's just going to be a 2-hour timer because that's for the entire class. And then you would just take the time that you need and you would submit it. Blackboard will say that you're late, but that's for Blackboard, right? I have your names written down for my reference. So that's
Okay.
how I do it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good. It's usually mostly just like the stress of having a time limit, not that I need like 8 hours to take the test. So that's good to know.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm happy to clarify this more over email if you have more questions. So, okay. So the midterm review, like I said, is already up on Blackboard. I hope you've taken a look at it. It's going to be 15 points of multiple choice questions and 15 points of analytical questions. Kelly asked me a question last Tuesday about how much of your readings do you need to know? And out of the 15 points in the multiple choice questions, I want to say that maybe I have 3 or 4 questions from your readings. That's about it. So majority of the multiple choice questions are from the lectures and the lecture slides that I've used for the lecture. So if you rewatch some of my videos, you've taken notes, that should be sufficient because it is an open book test. So I would recommend keeping note cards with you with all the important points and concepts, just so that you don't have to, it's a 2-hour test. So you cannot rewatch an entire video of mine to get the answer. So I would highly recommend taking notes and keeping it in like note cards with you while you take the test. And the 15 points of analytical questions are things that we've been doing in class. So, like phonetic transcriptions or looking at your IPA chart. Please keep your IPA chart with you. That's the other thing that I wanted to mention. All the IPA chart for English, the main IPA chart that's on Blackboard. Keep all your IPA charts available, print it out and keep it if that's easiest because you're taking a test online. And so, I expect considerable familiarity with the IPA. I expect you to know syllabification because we've been doing syllabification algorithms, right? I expect you to do the kind of language problems that we've been doing in our breakout rooms, where I give you data from a language and I ask you some questions and I ask you to analyze the data. So expect a couple of questions like that. So that's really where that 15 points of analytical questions is coming from. I obviously have a lot more detail in the midterm review, which I'm not going to be going over right now, but do you have any questions for me with respect to the, anything regarding this slide or the midterm review? All right, sounds good. So today, my dean called for a meeting on Tuesday after our class. It was like really short notice. There's a meeting at 10 o'clock that I have to attend. So from 10 to 10:45 today, my applied linguistics senior, as I mentioned her name before, Caitlin Hemberger, will be joining you on Zoom, and she will be doing a midterm review with you. I usually do a quiz like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire or a Jeopardy kind of, game. That's how I normally do my midterm reviews in classes. So this time, Caitlin, I think, has a Who Wants to Be a Millionaire kind of quiz. So she will do that midterm review with you from 10 to 10:45. Caitlin, like I said, is an applied linguistics senior who has done Linguistics 151. Oh my God, maybe 3 years ago or something. Caitlin has taken a lot of classes from me. So, I forget when she did Linguistics 151, but her project was one of the top 3 Linguistics 151 final projects that year. And she was invited to present in the annual constructed language workshop that happens every year that I teach Linguistics 151. So she is also a great person for you to talk about your final project. Feel free to ask her questions about that as well, but she will be joining us at 10 o'clock. Okay, so before we get on to doing, I thought we could do 1 or 2 practice problems with me because we have about 15 minutes left. But before that, I wanted to ask Caitlin, you're already here. I did not see you. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. Hi, I popped in a little early just to be here, just to make sure everything worked. So.
Okay, perfect. Welcome. Yeah, I did not see
you.
you. When I screen share, I cannot see everybody, so I can see you now. So thank you for popping in a little earlier.
No problem.
How was the movie, the documentary, The Linguist? We didn't have time to talk about it at the end of Tuesday. So, I just wanted to make sure that if you have any comments or any thoughts on what you saw, I'm happy to hear that. Kelly?
I thought it was really cool.
Okay.
Like the travel aspect of it was really cool. And just to see the actual process involved in doing a project like that, it was neat to actually see that. Kind of adventurous, the fact that they're going to places that are potentially dangerous sometimes. I don't know, it was pretty neat. I liked it.
Cool. I mean, I will tell you that there's a lot more work that happens behind the scenes with respect to human subject approval from what's known as the Institutional Review Board. And especially when you go to a foreign country, then you need IRB, this Institutional Review Board approval, not just from the US, but also from that country. So there is a lot of paperwork, a lot of, planning that goes towards the final travel, if you will, right? So one of the projects that I've done is document the Potawatomi language spoken in Mayeda, Kansas. So I'm really familiar with field documentation and revitalization of Native Indian languages. And, one of the things that you often find is resistance from the community, especially if you're an outsider, right? And majority of the time, linguistic researchers are outside that particular community, right? So that's one of the biggest, I think, things that we need to keep in mind that, in the documentary, they didn't kind of show that because it's, they wanted to be positive and, try to influence all the students to kind of take up fieldwork in linguistic documentation and revitalization. But that's something that all researchers always keep in mind, that when you're an outsider to the community, you need to first have that trust aspect with that community and gain trust, and only then can you do all this work, right? So cool. I look forward to seeing all your assignments post spring break. All right, so let's do one of the problems from this book. I highly recommend this book, especially if you are a linguist, you're interested in linguistics. This is the Language Lovers Puzzle book by Alex Bellos. He's from the UK, and he also has he does a column for The Guardian, which is a newspaper in the UK. That's free. You can always, look at the column, but this book is also, I highly recommend it. It's only $16.95 in the US. So very affordable, a great Christmas gift, if you're looking for Christmas gifts for this year. But this is a page from his book. And this is the language called Iatmul, which is basically, as you can see, an endangered language. There's only 47,000 speakers of Iatmul, and it's spoken in Papua New Guinea. So it's a tiny island, of New Zealand. And this is called a canoe problem. So here are some words in Iatmul and their English translations with their meaning. And I'm asking you, what is the meaning of Walini Banavi and Nibunawala? So I'm going to ask you to do all this individually and not in groups. So look at the Iatmul word, look at the literal translation, look at the meaning, and then try to find out the meaning of these two phrases. Whenever somebody is ready with the answer, you can unmute yourself and tell me, what do you think the answer is?
Is the first one white person's spear?
Yes, absolutely. That's Walini is white. How do you know that? You know that from Walini Banagu, white person's water, right? And Bana is again from Walini Bana, so that's white person's. And we is from the first word, spear, so it's white person's spear. I believe that is the term for rifle or gun. White person's spear, that's how they say rifle or gun. What about Nibunawala?
Would that one be land canoe?
Yes, that is land canoe, Olivia. So Nibu is land. So Nibunawala is land canoe. It means car. It's the word for car. Okay, so rifle gun is white person's spear because a white man brought it first to the island because they had never seen a rifle or a gun before. And a car is a land canoe because they didn't have cars. They didn't need cars. So they only had access to canoes. So a canoe that goes on the land is a car, right? A great idea to use for your constructed language as well. All right, now match the following three words, their correct meanings. Lavu, lavuga, lavugavi. And the we with the apostrophe is not related to the we as in spear. So that's a different morpheme. And you will need to think about the order in which the words entered the Iatmul language. Because a lot of these words came in through borrowing from English and French and other colonizing languages. Any guesses? Kelly, yeah?
I might guess that lavu is book,
Okay.
lavuga to read, and then lavugavi is banana.
Can you tell me what your logic was in guessing lavu is a book? Or it's just a guess. That's fine.
It was just a guess, but I might be rethinking that perhaps lavu is banana,
Mhm.
and then lavuga is book, and lavugavi is to read.
That's absolutely correct.
And I thought that because the instructions reminded you to think of the order that the words entered the language. So then I thought, okay, they probably had a word for banana before they had a word for book.
Exactly. That's the perfect logic to think about this problem, right? So
Yeah.
lavu is banana because bananas grew on the island, and it's a more commonsensical object that you would find in that indigenous community, versus a book and reading came through European colonization because books originated in Europe, right? So lavu is banana, lavuga is actually a book, and I'm looking at the answers in Alex Pelos's book. It says the literal meaning is banana leaves, since sheets of paper are of similar size and shape. So that's how they kind of got that lavuga meaning book, but it's literally banana leaves. So lavu banana, lavuga banana leaves, which means book. And then lavugavi is the verb to read. So to read a book, lavugavi, we suggesting that verbal ending. Perfect. All right. So I think that kind of gives you an idea of, the sort of analytical problems and the kind of logic that you would need to use for some of the questions in your midterm. I actually had a Turkish problem. This is from the National Olympiad for Computational Linguistics. But obviously, Caitlin is here, so we are not going to be doing this problem right now. Let me share this with you, and I will put it up on Blackboard. So this is how the NACLO problems look like. So NACLO is actually the National Computational Linguistics Olympiad for high school students. So this is an example of a puzzle that a high school student would do if they're participating in the Olympiad. We actually held our first NACLO at Wichita State in January. So this is not one of the problems from that. This is actually from a 2014 NACLO competition. But like I said, this is geared towards high school students. So, definitely something I think that we can look at in LING 151. So this is Turkish, and, they've given you quite a bit of detail about Turkish sounds and phonology and all that. And here is the relevant data, right? And the question is, how would you translate the following into English? Right. So again, you need to kind of identify the phrases, identify the words, and then translate baban mutlumu, etc. into English. Right. So this is going to take a bit of time, but like I said, I didn't know that Caitlin would join us earlier today. So I'm not going to ask you to do this right now. I will put this up on Blackboard. This is the question, and this is the answer, right? So I also have the answer. They give you the answer. NACLO gives you the answer. So I will put up both on Blackboard, but I highly recommend that you do the question first. Wait, let me just stop share. Yeah, I highly recommend doing the question and then checking your answers, right? Rather than looking at the answer first and then trying to do the question again. All right, so with that, I am going to hop off this call. I'm going to make Caitlin a co-host so that she can lead the discussion. Okay, I'm going to make you the host actually so that I can lead the meeting. Caitlin, is it possible for you to record on your end, or?
Yeah, let me try that out.
Okay, I'm going to stop this recording